The massive Viridian starship hovered silently above Earth's atmosphere. Inside the command center, Queen Lyra of the Viridian Empire sat perfectly balanced on her gravity throne. Her crystalline body shimmered with pale blue light as she studied the view screens showing the humans below. "They are so fluid," she remarked to her chief advisor Ta, who stood rigidly beside her throne. Like all Viridians, both maintained perfect vertical alignment with the artificial gravity field. "Yes, Your Majesty. Human physiology differs greatly from our own," Te replied. His crystalline form glowed with cautious amber patterns. Queen Lyra had ruled the Viridians for over 200 cycles. Her empire spanned 12 star systems, but Earth was something new. These humans, with their soft bodies and unpredictable movements, fascinated her. "Prepare the diplomatic chamber. I wish to meet them myself," she commanded. Te's glow flickered with concern. "Is that wise, Your Majesty? We know so little about them." "That is precisely why I must see them up close," Lyra replied. Her decision was final. 3 days later, the first human delegation arrived on the Viridian mothership. The diplomatic chamber had been carefully designed to accommodate both species. The humans were led by Ambassador Park and his team of 5 specialists. Queen Lyra observed them from her gravity throne as they entered. Unlike the Viridians, who moved with careful, measured steps, always maintaining perfect alignment with the gravity field, the humans seemed to move in all directions at once. They turned their heads, gestured with their arms, and shifted their weight from side to side. "Welcome to the Viridian Empire," Queen Lyra announced, her voice resonating through the chamber. "We are pleased to establish peaceful contact with Earth." Ambassador Park bowed slightly. "Thank you for this historic opportunity, Your Majesty. Earth looks forward to friendship between our peoples." The formal introductions proceeded smoothly. Queen Lyra noted how the humans sat in chairs, crossed their legs, leaned forward, and tilted their heads during conversation. Every movement fascinated her. During a break in the diplomatic proceedings, Queen Lyra overheard 2 human assistants talking quietly in a corner of the room. "How are you holding up?" asked one, a woman named Min. "I'm exhausted," replied the other, a man called Da. "I was up all night preparing these reports." Min laughed softly. "At least you can work in any position. I caught you napping at your desk yesterday." "True," Da grinned. "I can work standing, sitting, lying down. Doesn't matter. I once wrote an entire proposal while hanging upside down from my exercise bar. The blood rush to my head kept me awake." Queen Lyra's crystals flashed with surprise. Work while upside down. The very idea was unthinkable to Viridians. Their crystalline neural networks could only function properly when aligned with gravitational fields. Even a 15-degree tilt would cause severe disorientation and eventually unconsciousness. "Did you hear that?" she whispered to Ta. "I did, Your Majesty," Te replied, his glow dimming with concern. "They can function in any position, even upside down." The Queen's crystals pulsed with excitement. "It must be an exaggeration," Ta suggested. "Perhaps, or perhaps it is their greatest strength," Queen Lyra mused. She watched as the human called Da reached up to adjust a light fixture, stretching his body at an angle that would have been impossible for a Viridian. Later that day, as the formal meetings concluded, Queen Lyra approached Ambassador Park directly. "I have a question of a personal nature," she said, her crystals glowing with curiosity. "Of course, Your Majesty," Park replied politely. "Is it true that humans can function in any position?" Ambassador Park looked slightly confused. "Function? You mean work or think?" "Yes. Think, make decisions, operate equipment, solve problems." "Oh," Park smiled with understanding. "Yes, our physical position doesn't affect our mental abilities. We can think clearly whether standing, sitting, or lying down." Queen Lyra's crystals flashed with bright patterns, even upside down. With the device activated, Rin did something no Viridian had ever done before. She slowly, deliberately tilted her body 45 degrees from vertical. Her crystals flickered momentarily, then stabilized. The crowd gasped. "I am functional," Rin announced with wonder in her voice. "I can think clearly." She continued tilting until she reached 90 degrees, completely horizontal to the floor. Her crystals pulsed with excitement. "This is extraordinary," she exclaimed. Queen Lyra watched with profound emotion, her own crystals glowing brightly. "Not quite doing it in any position like humans," she said quietly to Min, "but a revolutionary step for my people." "It's beautiful," Min replied, genuinely moved. "Not because Viridians are becoming more like humans, but because they're expanding what it means to be Viridian." Later that evening, as the celebration continued, Queen Lyra made a special announcement. She revealed plans for a joint space station, one designed by both species, incorporating both Viridian crystal technology and human adaptability. "We will call it positional harmony," she declared, "a place where our differences become our greatest strength." The proposed station would feature both human-style variable environments and Viridian perfectly aligned sections. Mixed crews would work together, each species handling the tasks best suited to their natural abilities. As the announcement concluded, Queen Lyra approached Min privately. "I have a personal request," she said, her crystals glowing with what Min had come to recognize as the Viridian equivalent of a smile. "When the positional harmony station is complete, I would like you to continue your work there as the human scientific liaison." Min was surprised and honored. "I would be delighted, Your Majesty." "Good. And perhaps," the Queen's crystals flickered with mischief, "you can continue to teach me about how humans do it in any position. From a purely scientific perspective, of course." Min laughed. "Of course, Your Majesty. Purely scientific." As they looked out at the mixed gathering of humans and Viridians, both felt the same thing, that this misunderstanding about doing it in any position had led to something far more valuable than either had imagined. A true alliance based on mutual respect for their differences. And somewhere in the stars, the plans for positional harmony were already taking shape, a testament to how understanding between different species could create something greater than either could achieve alone. "I'm so sorry," Dr. Song said softly. The Queen's crystals dimmed with sorrow. "If we could develop even a fraction of your ability to function regardless of position, we could save countless lives." Dr. Song considered this. "Would you be open to some simple experiments? Nothing invasive, just tests to better understand your physiology." "That is precisely why I came," Queen Lyra said, her crystals brightening again. Over the next 3 days, Dr. Song conducted a series of tests with the Queen's willing participation. They discovered that Viridian neural crystals began to misalign at just 12 degrees of tilt from the gravitational field. At 20 degrees, thought processes became confused. At 30 degrees, unconsciousness began. "Your physiology is fascinating," Dr. Song told the Queen. "Your neural crystals are actually much more efficient than our brains in optimal conditions. They just lack adaptability." "Can anything be done?" Queen Lyra asked directly. Dr. Song smiled. "I believe so. We can't change your biology, but we might be able to develop better stabilization technology. Something that works on the individual level, rather than trying to stabilize entire environments." Hope flashed through the Queen's crystalline body. "You think this is possible?" "With our scientists working together, yes, I do." On the final day of her visit, Queen Lyra made an unprecedented request. "I wish to try something," she told Dr. Song. "I want to experience, just for a moment, what it would be like to be tilted." Dr. Song looked concerned. "That could be dangerous for you, Your Majesty." "I understand the risks," the Queen insisted, "but I need to know what my people face. Just a small tilt, with medical supervision." After extensive preparation, the experiment was arranged. The Queen's personal physician, Dr. Wan, monitored her vital signs as her gravity throne was slowly tilted 5 degrees off vertical. Queen Lyra's crystals flickered with discomfort. It feels strange, like my thoughts are sliding sideways. They increased to 10 degrees. The Queen's glow dimmed noticeably. Are you all right? Dr. Song asked with concern. Yes, but thinking is difficult, the Queen managed. At 15 degrees, alarm signals flashed through her crystal matrix. Dr. Huan immediately returned the throne to vertical position. Queen Lyra's crystals gradually returned to their normal luster. Now I truly understand, she said quietly, and I am even more determined to find a solution. As her ship prepared to return to Viridian space, Queen Lyra formally invited Dr. Song to visit the Viridian homeworld. Together, we will solve this problem, she promised. And perhaps this is just the beginning of what our species can learn from each other. The Viridian royal palace shimmered like a crystal mountain against the purple sky of Viridia Prime. Dr. Song stood on the observation deck of the human embassy, still adjusting to the stronger gravity of this alien world. She watched the twin suns setting behind the geometric spires of the capital city. Beautiful, isn't it? Said Bo, the human ambassador to Viridia. Breathtaking, Dr. Song agreed. I never imagined I'd be the first human physiologist invited to the Viridian royal court. Queen Lyra specifically requested you, Bo reminded her. Ever since her visit to the space station, she's been focused on this position project, as they're calling it. Dr. Song smiled. It still amazes me that something we take for granted, the ability to function in different positions, is so revolutionary to the Viridians. The next morning, a royal transport arrived to bring Dr. Song to the palace. The vehicle was perfectly balanced, moving in smooth, straight lines to avoid any tilting that might disorient his crystalline passengers. Upon arrival, Dr. Song was escorted to the Queen's private laboratory. Queen Lyra stood in the center of the room, her crystalline form glowing with bright blue patterns of excitement. Queen Lyra's crystals pulsed with formal greeting patterns. The honor is mine, Dr. Song. I look forward to learning from you. The Queen noticed immediately how the humans moved freely in the station's artificial gravity, which was noticeably lighter than Earth's natural pull. One scientist was actually floating upside down near a ceiling panel, making adjustments to some equipment. Her crystals flashed with amazement. Is he functional in that position? She asked Dr. Song. Song followed her gaze and smiled. Yes, completely. In fact, some tasks in space are easier to perform upside down or at angles, depending on what needs to be reached. Fascinating, breathed the Queen. On my world, such a position would cause immediate disorientation and loss of consciousness. Dr. Song led the Queen and her small entourage on a tour of the station. Everywhere they went, humans worked in various positions, some floating freely, others strapped to workstations at odd angles. I have prepared a demonstration, if Your Majesty is interested, Dr. Song said as they entered a large module. Very interested, Queen Lyra replied, her crystals glowing brightly. Dr. Song nodded to a colleague, who activated a control panel. A section of the module's floor began to rotate slowly. This is our variable gravity research area, Dr. Song explained. We use it to study how different organisms respond to changing gravitational orientation. A team of 4 humans entered the rotating section. As it turned, they adjusted their positions naturally, continuing their work even as the floor became the wall, then the ceiling. Queen Lyra watched in amazement. And they can still think clearly, make decisions, perform complex tasks. Absolutely, Dr. Song confirmed. Our orientation to gravity doesn't affect our cognitive abilities. It might be physically uncomfortable in some positions, but our brains function the same whether we're standing, sitting, or hanging upside down. The Queen's crystals pulsed with intense patterns of thought. May I ask them questions while they are inverted? Of course. Queen Lyra approached the rotating section and addressed a young scientist who was currently upside down from her perspective. What is your name? She asked. I'm Gil, Your Majesty, he replied with a smile, seemingly unbothered by his inverted position. And what is your field of study? Quantum physics with a focus on entanglement properties in microgravity, Jill answered without hesitation. Could you explain a complex concept from your field? The Queen requested, her crystals flashing with anticipation. Gil launched into a detailed explanation of quantum entanglement while continuing to operate his equipment, all while completely upside down. The Queen listened intently, noting that his thought processes seemed completely unimpaired. Remarkable, she whispered to June, truly remarkable. After the demonstration, Queen Lyra requested a private meeting with Dr. Song. In a small conference room, the Queen revealed her true purpose. My species is entirely dependent on gravitational alignment, she explained. Our neural crystals can only transmit thoughts properly when aligned with gravitational fields. This limitation has shaped our entire civilization, our ships, our colonies, our technology. Dr. Song nodded with understanding. Evolution takes different paths on different worlds. Yes, but this limitation has cost us greatly. Last year, we lost an entire mining colony when their gravitational stabilizers failed during a solar storm. 300 Viridians lost consciousness and died before help could arrive. What I discovered instead was far more valuable. Our two species evolved differently, with different strengths and limitations. The true power lies not in trying to become like each other, but in combining our unique abilities. Ambassador Bo stepped forward to stand beside Queen Lyra. Humanity is honored to formalize this alliance, he said. Together, we can accomplish what neither species could achieve alone. The formal treaty signing proceeded with careful ceremony. As was Viridian custom, the document stood vertically on a crystal pedestal, perfectly aligned with the gravity field. As was human custom, each signer was allowed to approach in their own way, some standing, some bowing, one human diplomat even performing a traditional dance before adding her signature. After the ceremony, a celebration began. The Viridians had prepared special areas with human-style seating arrangements, chairs, couches, even cushions on the floor. Meanwhile, humans had learned to appreciate the perfect alignment and mathematical harmony of Viridian crystal music. Min found Queen Lyra observing the mixed gathering from a quiet corner. Quite different from your first visit to my ship, the Queen noted as Min approached. Very different, Min agreed. Back then, you were shocked that I could work while sitting cross-legged, and now we've developed an entire line of neural compensators because of that observation. The Queen's crystals flashed with pride. The colony versions are already being installed throughout our settlements. No Viridian will ever again be completely helpless during a gravity fluctuation. It's remarkable what came from a simple misunderstanding, Min said with a smile. The Queen's glow softened. I still remember how disappointed I was when you explained that humans didn't have a special skill. Viridians simply had a special limitation. And I remember how quickly you turned that disappointment into innovation, Min replied. Most leaders would have been too proud to continue. Across the room, they watched as a human engineer demonstrated a somersault for a group of fascinated Viridian scientists. Meanwhile, a Viridian crystal artist was showing human visitors how to appreciate the subtle patterns of crystal communications. We've created something new here, Queen Lyra observed. Not just technology, but understanding. The neural compensator was just the beginning, Min agreed. The new designs for Viridian ships with human-operated emergency sections are even more impressive. The Queen's crystals pulsed with satisfaction. No Viridian vessel will ever again be completely disabled by gravity system failures. Human crew members can function regardless of orientation. And humans benefit from Viridian crystal technology, improving our navigation systems, Min added. The precision is unlike anything we've developed. A young Viridian approached them, bowing formally to the Queen. Min recognized Yo, one of the junior engineers who had helped with the compensator project. Your Majesty, Dr. Min, Yo greeted them, crystals glowing with excitement. The demonstration is ready if you wish to observe. They followed Yo to an adjacent chamber where a small crowd had gathered. In the center stood an experimental device, the latest version of the neural compensator, but with significant modifications. We call it the Positional Freedom Module, explained Engineer Kang, who stood beside the device. It doesn't just compensate for tilted positions. It actually allows a Viridian to experience new orientations safely. A volunteer stepped forward. A Viridian scientist named Rin, who had worked closely with the human team. Rin's crystals glowed with nervous anticipation as technicians attached the device to her crystal matrix. The PFM creates a localized gravity field that moves with the user, Kang explained to the audience. It maintains perfect alignment between the neural crystals and this portable gravity field, regardless of the user's position relative to the planet's gravity. Dr. Song, welcome to Viridia Prime, the Queen greeted her. I trust your journey was comfortable. Very comfortable, thank you, Your Majesty, Dr. Song replied with a bow. Please, in this laboratory, let us dispense with formalities, the Queen said. Call me Lyra, and I shall call you Min, Dr. Song offered. My given name is Min. Min, the Queen repeated, her crystals glowing warmly. I have assembled our top scientists and engineers. They are eager to work with you. 5 Viridian scientists stood perfectly aligned around the room. Each introduced themselves with glowing crystal patterns that Min couldn't read, but they spoke clear English for her benefit. This is Dr. Wu, our chief neural specialist, Queen Lyra said, indicating a Viridian whose crystals had a slight green tint. And here is Engineer Kang, who designs our gravitational stabilization systems. After introductions, Queen Lyra revealed what she had prepared. The laboratory contained various devices and experimental setups, all focused on the problem of Viridian positional limitation. We have made some progress already, Engineer Kang explained, showing Min a small device. This personal gravitational field generator can maintain proper alignment for a Viridian for up to 30 minutes during power failures or emergencies. Impressive, Min said, examining the device. But it still requires the Viridian to remain physically aligned with the generator's field, correct? Yes, Kang admitted. We cannot yet separate orientation from function. For the next week, Min worked closely with the Viridian team. She conducted demonstrations of human adaptability that amazed the crystal beings. She could work upside down, sideways, even while spinning slowly in a specially designed chair. How does your brain compensate for the changing blood flow? Dr. Wu asked as Min typed a report while hanging upside down. Our circulatory system has valves and mechanisms to regulate pressure, Min explained, and our inner ear helps maintain our sense of balance and orientation. The Viridians were fascinated, recording every detail. Queen Lyra often observed these demonstrations personally, her crystals pulsing with intense patterns. I wish I could experience even a fraction of this freedom, she confided to Min one evening as they reviewed the day's findings. As the cultural exchange progressed, Min learned more about Viridian society. Their entire civilization was structured around their need for perfect gravitational alignment. Buildings were designed with backup stabilization systems. Vehicles never made sharp turns. Even their art and music emphasized perfect balance and alignment. It's not just a physical limitation, Queen Lyra explained. It has shaped our entire perspective. Viridians value stability, predictability, and perfect order above all else, while humans often thrive on change and adaptation, Min observed. Exactly. That is why this exchange is so valuable. Our differences give us different strengths. On the 10th day, a breakthrough occurred. Min was working with Engineer Kang on a new prototype when she had an insight. What if we stop trying to keep the neural crystals physically aligned with gravity? She suggested. What if instead we create a system that constantly recalibrates how the crystals process information, regardless of their orientation? Kang's crystals flashed with excitement. A neural compensator rather than a physical stabilizer. They worked through the night, combining human biomedical technology with Viridian crystal engineering. By morning, they had a crude prototype, a small device that could potentially allow a Viridian to maintain consciousness even when tilted up to 45 degrees. When they presented it to Queen Lyra, Her entire form glowed with anticipation. "Who will test it?" she asked. The room fell silent. Testing such a device would be dangerous. If it failed, the test subject would experience severe neural disruption. "I will," the Queen declared, her glow steady and determined. Min helped attach the modified neural compensator to the Queen, while Engineer Kang connected it to the broadcast system. This was different from their previous tests. Instead of the compensator working directly on the Queen's neural crystals, it would transmit its calibration through the communication network. "Ready, Your Majesty?" Min asked. "Proceed," the Queen replied. Slowly, they tilted her gravity chair to 30 degrees. Her crystals flickered wildly for a moment, then stabilized as the transmission began. "I can function," she said, her voice strained but clear. "The signal is working." "Transmission is stable," Kang confirmed. "We can broadcast to the colony." With just 2 hours to spare, they completed the modifications and began broadcasting the neural calibration signal to Nexus Colony. Reports soon came back that it was working. Colonists were maintaining consciousness despite fluctuations in the colony's gravity fields. As they monitored the signal, Queen Lyra turned to Min. "I understand now what you were trying to tell me earlier. This isn't about Viridians becoming more like humans." Min nodded. "It's about each species using their unique strengths." "Yes, without your human adaptability, we could never have built this device so quickly. And without our crystal technology, your adaptability alone couldn't have saved the colony." The Queen's crystals glowed with a new kind of understanding. "I was looking for the wrong thing all along. I wanted Viridians to be able to do it in any position like humans. But what we really needed was to recognize that different species have different gifts." Hours later, when emergency ships arrived at Nexus Colony, not a single life had been lost. The neural calibration signal had kept the colonists conscious and functioning until the gravity stabilizers could be repaired. When Queen Lyra announced the success to her council, she explained the truth she had discovered. "Today we learned that our future doesn't lie in trying to become like humans. It lies in recognizing our differences and finding ways to complement each other's strengths. The Viridians will never do it in any position like humans can. And that's perfectly fine. We have our own unique abilities that humans lack." Min stood nearby, smiling as she watched the Queen's crystals glow with newfound wisdom and pride in her own species. "Different doesn't mean better or worse," the Queen concluded. "It just means we have more to learn from each other." The grand crystal dome of the Viridian High Council glittered with thousands of light reflections. Today was historic. Representatives from Earth stood on one side of the vast chamber, while Viridian officials stood perfectly aligned on the other. In the center, Queen Lyra's gravity throne hovered slightly above the polished floor. "Today marks the beginning of a new chapter for both our worlds," Queen Lyra announced, her crystalline form glowing with formal patterns. "The successful rescue of Nexus Colony demonstrated what we can achieve when we combine our different strengths." Min stood with the human delegation, dressed in formal diplomatic attire. 3 months had passed since the emergency at Nexus Colony. In that time, the relationship between humans and Viridians had evolved dramatically. "Our initial cultural exchange began with what some might call a misunderstanding," the Queen continued, her crystals pulsing with humor. "I was fascinated by the human ability to function in any position, something impossible for Viridians. I hope to gain this ability for my people." A ripple of light patterns, the Viridian equivalent of gentle laughter, spread through the crystalline officials. Min sat down across from her. "I fear there's been a fundamental misunderstanding about human adaptability." "What do you mean?" "Humans can function in different positions, not because we trained ourselves to do so, or because we have special technology. It's simply how we evolved." The Queen's glow flickered with confusion. "I don't understand." Min chose her words carefully. "The neural compensator is helping you overcome your species' natural limitations. But for humans, there are no such limitations to overcome. We didn't develop the ability to think in different positions. We never lost that ability in the first place. A long silence followed as Queen Lyra processed this information. Her crystals dimmed to a soft, thoughtful glow. So what you're saying is, humans don't have a special skill. Viridians have a special limitation. Min winced at the bluntness. Different evolutionary paths led to different physical characteristics. It's not about better or worse, just different. The Queen's glow faded further, her disappointment evident. For weeks, she had imagined transforming her society to match human positional freedom. Now she realized the gap was far wider than she had thought. All this work, was it for nothing? Lyra asked quietly. Before Min could answer, an urgent alert sounded. Captain Jun rushed into the laboratory, his crystals flashing with emergency patterns. Your Majesty, we've received a distress signal from the Nexus colony. Queen Lyra immediately shifted to royal authority. What's happened? A massive seismic event has damaged their main gravity stabilizers. Thousands of colonists are at risk. The Nexus colony was one of Viridia's largest off-world settlements, home to over 20,000 Viridians. Without functioning gravity stabilizers, the entire population would be vulnerable to even the slightest gravitational shifts. How long before total failure? The Queen demanded. 6 hours at most, Jun replied. We've dispatched emergency ships, but they won't arrive in time. Queen Lyra turned to Min, her crystals now pulsing with urgent intensity. This is exactly the kind of disaster we've been working to prevent. Can the neural compensator help? Min thought quickly. The current prototype isn't ready for mass production, but an idea struck her. What if we modify the colony's communication system to broadcast a neural calibration signal? It wouldn't be as effective as individual compensators, but it might keep the colonists conscious until help arrives. Would that work? The Queen asked Engineer Kang, who had just entered the room. Kang's crystals flashed with rapid calculations. Possibly. We would need to boost the signal strength and recalibrate it for neural patterns rather than communication data. How quickly can you create the modifications? The Queen asked. 4 hours, minimum, Kang replied. Then we have no time to waste. What followed was an intense collaboration between human adaptability and Viridian technology. Min worked alongside the Viridian engineers, often in positions that would be impossible for them, crawling under consoles, hanging upside down to reach circuits, contorting to access tight spaces. Meanwhile, the Viridians contributed their precise crystal engineering and deep knowledge of their own neural patterns. As they worked, Queen Lyra observed a truth more profound than any she had expected to find. The humans weren't superior because they could function in any position. They were simply different, with different strengths. And in this crisis, those differences were proving invaluable. 3 hours until stabilizer failure at the colony, Captain Jun reported. The modified transmitter was taking shape. Min had adapted human biomedical equipment to work with Viridian crystal technology, creating something entirely new. We need to test it, Engineer Kang said. But we need a Viridian subject in a tilted position. All eyes turned to Queen Lyra. I will do it, she said without hesitation. Park laughed softly. Yes, even upside down, though it's not particularly comfortable for long periods. The Queen's fascination was obvious even to humans who couldn't read Viridian crystal patterns. This ability must give your species tremendous advantages. I suppose we take it for granted, Park admitted. I've never considered it a special ability. That night, in her private chambers, Queen Lyra could not stop thinking about this human trait. The Viridians' rigid dependence on gravitational alignment had always been their greatest weakness. It limited their ship designs, their colonial expansion, and their ability to explore certain planets. Imagine the possibilities, she said to Tai as they reviewed the day's events. If we could function in any position, how much more could we accomplish? It is their natural physiology, Your Majesty, Tai reminded her. We cannot simply adopt such traits. Perhaps not, Queen Lyra conceded. but I wish to learn more. Schedule additional meetings with their physiologists and engineers. Tay's crystals dimmed slightly. Your Majesty, I must advise caution. Focusing too much on human abilities might suggest weakness in our own species. Queen Lyra turned her full attention to her advisor. Knowledge is never a weakness, Ta. The truly strong are not afraid to learn from others. Over the next week, Queen Lyra observed the humans carefully. She watched them sit, stand, recline, and move freely throughout the ship. One scientist even demonstrated a handstand, balancing upside down on her palms, while still carrying on a coherent conversation about atmospheric science. The Queen made her decision. She would invite a human specialist to the Viridian homeworld, someone who could explain this remarkable ability in detail. Perhaps there were technologies or techniques that could help her people overcome their limitations. Prepare a formal invitation for a human physiologist to visit our homeworld, she instructed Ta. I wish to understand everything about how humans can do it in any position. Tay's crystals flashed with alarm. Your Majesty, this fixation is becoming concerning. Not a fixation, Queen Lyra corrected. A vision. This could be the beginning of a new era for the Viridian Empire. As the human delegation prepared to return to Earth, Queen Lyra wondered what other surprises these fascinating creatures might reveal. Their ability to function regardless of orientation was just one trait. What other capabilities might they possess? And how might the Viridians benefit from such knowledge? Her crystals glowed with anticipation. This first contact was just the beginning. 3 months after first contact, Queen Lyra of the Viridian Empire stood in her private observatory on the royal starship, watching Earth grow larger on the main view screen. Her crystalline body glowed with excitement as they approached the blue planet. Your Majesty, we will dock at the International Space Station in 1 hour, reported Captain Jun, her head of security. Excellent. Is Dr. Song prepared to receive us? Asked the Queen. Yes, Your Majesty. The human physiologist awaits your arrival. Queen Lyra had spent weeks preparing for this meeting. Her fascination with the human ability to function in any position had only grown stronger. The Viridian Council had questioned the wisdom of her personal involvement, but she had overruled them. This is too important to delegate, she told Jun as they boarded the shuttle for the final approach to the space station. If humans truly can think and work regardless of their orientation to gravity, it could solve our greatest limitation. The shuttle docked smoothly with the International Space Station. As the airlock opened, Queen Lyra stood perfectly straight, her gravitational stabilizers humming quietly to ensure she remained perfectly aligned with the station's artificial gravity field. Dr. Song waited on the other side, along with a small team of Earth scientists and diplomats. She bowed deeply as the Queen entered. Welcome to humanity's home in orbit, Your Majesty, she said. We are honored by your visit. Your Majesty, Dr. Wu objected. The risk is mine to take, Queen Lyra finished firmly. If this works, it could transform our society. If our Queen cannot take this risk, how can we ask it of others? The test was arranged for the following day. News spread throughout the palace, and many royal officials gathered to witness the event. A special chamber was prepared with medical equipment and emergency stabilizers. Queen Lyra sat on a modified throne as Min carefully attached the neural compensator to the base of her crystalline form. Are you certain, Your Majesty? Min asked quietly. More certain than I have ever been, the Queen replied. Her crystals glowed with calm resolve. Engineer Kang activated the device. A soft hum filled the chamber as the compensator powered up. We will begin with a 5-degree tilt, Dr. Wu announced. Slowly, the throne tilted. All the Viridians in the room watched intently, their own forms rigidly maintained by the room's stable gravity field. At 5 degrees, Queen Lyra's crystals flickered slightly, then stabilized. How do you feel? Min asked. Strange, but clear, the Queen replied. My thoughts are intact. They proceeded to 10 degrees, then 15. At each increment, the Queen remained conscious and coherent. When they reached 30 degrees, a position that would normally render any Viridian completely unconscious. A murmur ran through the watching officials. "This is remarkable," Queen Lyra said, her voice steady despite her dramatically tilted position. "I can think clearly, even though I can feel the tilt." Min checked the compensator's readings. "The device is working perfectly. It's recalibrating your neural patterns to compensate for the changed orientation." When the demonstration ended and the Queen was returned to vertical alignment, spontaneous crystal flashing, the Viridian equivalent of applause, broke out among the officials. Queen Lyra raised her upper limbs for silence. "Today marks the beginning of a new era for Viridia. With this technology, we can overcome our greatest limitation." Later, in private, she spoke to Min with deep gratitude. "You have given my people something precious, the beginning of positional freedom." Min smiled. "And you've given me a deeper appreciation for how different species can learn from each other. Our differences aren't obstacles, they're opportunities." That night, a grand cultural exchange celebration was held in the palace. Human musicians performed while positioned in various orientations, standing, sitting, even during acrobatic movements. Viridian crystal harmonizers created stunning light shows in response. It was the beginning of a true partnership between two very different species who had each found something valuable in the other. The breakthrough with the neural compensator changed everything. Over the next few weeks, Queen Lyra spent hours each day using the device, gradually increasing the angles at which she could function. She kept her experiments private, working closely with only Min and the core research team. 45 degrees today, the Queen announced proudly as Min adjusted the device attached to her crystal matrix. "I want to try for a full hour." Min checked the readings carefully. "The compensator is functioning at optimal levels, but remember, this is still experimental technology." Queen Lyra's crystals pulsed with determination. "I understand the risks, but the potential benefits are too great to ignore." As Min tilted the Queen's gravity chair, Lyra's crystalline form glowed with effort. At 45 degrees, a position that would normally cause immediate unconsciousness in a Viridian, she remained alert and functional. "How does it feel?" Min asked, monitoring the Queen's neural patterns. "Strange, but manageable," Lyra replied. "Like thinking through a thick fog, but the thoughts are still there." After successfully maintaining the position for a full hour, Queen Lyra was elated. "Soon I will be able to function at any angle, just like humans." Min's expression grew concerned. She had been wanting to have this conversation with the Queen for days, but had been waiting for the right moment. "Your Majesty, Lyra, there's something important I need to explain." The Queen's crystals dimmed slightly as she returned to vertical alignment. "What is it?"